Hello and welcome to the 2020 Meme Review. I'm Jason Beets. With all of the chaos in the world, from the pandemic to the recession, police brutality, and looting, I bet that you're ready for some lighthearted entertainment. I certainly am. So, we're going to be looking at a bunch of memes that I found on Pinterest. I was inspired to do something like this after watching the meme reviews on channels such as Legal Eagle and Dr. Mike. They in turn got it originally from PewDiePie, who kind of popularized the format of reacting to popular memes that are going around. So I have selected what I think are kind of a well-rounded batch of memes to talk about with several of my friends who I have on a phone call, one of whom has seen most of these and two of whom I don't think have seen them before, unless they happen to find them themselves. So I'm joined by my friends Ben Detrixhe, who has seen most of these since I've already showed them to him, as well as Zach Arnberger.
And nobody else will actually listen to this because since you said react in the introduction, the Fine Brothers are guaranteed to have this video taken down.
And Justin Smith.
What up?
And I think Justin and Zach have seen few, if none of these before, so they will be reacting, generally speaking, for the first time.
So, I've seen a lot of memes, so I can't wait to see how many I recognize.
Okay.
Or don't.
And also,
I don't meme well, so I've probably seen absolutely none of these. Unless they're stupid right-wing political memes, then they're probably all over my Facebook. Because when you went to high school in rural Kansas, you see a lot of that. Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh, it's so painful. Facebook is so painful right now. It's a pit. It is a pit. All right.
And so this video will definitely show off my sense of humor and what I find to be entertaining. So you will see some themes in the things that I have chosen. So without further ado, let's look at the 2020 meme review. So in the first meme, we have the first person who says, "Me in the US on my 4th week of lockdown. There are 72,519 stones in my walls. I've counted them many times." Someone in Italy on their 6th week, but have you named them yet?
I mean, I've baked about 20 loaves of bread during lockdown, so I don't know. I guess something.
So yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, this is a particular meme that I've never seen before, but I've always found some enjoyment in the ones that are making fun of people that aren't used to staying indoors.
Uh-huh. Or the ones that are poking fun at people who's like, "Oh yes, I was built for this moment."
This pandemic has not affected me in the slightest.
But
well, aside from what. Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, I think definitely in terms of being introverted and self-reliant, we've got a group of people here who are real true, we're not a bunch of fakes on that account.
Right.
I mean, the biggest effect that quarantine has had on me is that I have to work out in my living room now, and I have to play disc golf really, really early in the morning, so I'll be the only person in the park. And I felt my sanity slipping on many junctures. That's why I bake so much bread.
But yeah, I definitely have seen people who are just like, "I'm so bored, I don't know what to do," which has not been my response. I have found plenty to keep me busy, but I definitely have empathy for people who have that reaction.
Yeah.
Day 25 of lockdown. Someone walks past my house. A stranger from the outside. Ooh! And it has the little alien plushies from the first Toy Story.
I mean, sure. I have very little reaction to this. This was kind of in the same vein as the last one. It has been a little weird, in the, just kind of the last week or so where I've been out a little more often, kind of after not being out at all, just to be like, oh yeah, these are like normal things that humans used to do 3 months ago, like going to get food and talking to other people in person.
So I mean,
Can't do much of that, but some.
I certainly have, like, spent enough time indoors that, like, every so often I'm like, oh yeah, there are people outside. Like, like it's
the world exists.
Yeah.
The world still exists.
Or just when you go out, like, oh yeah, that's what the sun looks like. Yeah. Oh, well, this is bright.
It's June. Why is it so fucking hot?
Which kitty in isolation are you today? And then it has a bunch of pictures. I empathize with.
I've been every cat in this picture at least twice, maybe per day, depending on the week.
So
I feel like number 5 is baking bread cat. Number 8 is I'm lying on my bed, staring at the ceiling, sweating and wondering why does this all mean, and thinking like, oh yeah, we're 3 months into this, and it's probably going to continue indefinitely because our government did absolutely nothing to respond effectively to it. So, but it doesn't matter. Let's open everything back up. Fend for yourself. Whoopee. Number 6 hasn't happened enough because I've been too scatterbrained to actually enjoy reading. Yeah, I'll just stop.
4 and 5, like, I identify with that, like, right now, but 2 speaks to me on a personal level.
Yeah, so 2, 6, and 9 are the ones that I identify most with, and 3 to an extent.
Yeah, I think for me it's mostly been 3, 4, and 6 because, like, I don't know, I've been pretty comfortable with all this for the most part. So yeah, it just depends. Like 3 is like when I'm like relaxed and comfortable. 4 is when I'm like, I'm tired. I don't feel like doing anything. And then 6 is like, yeah, I've got a little bit of reading done, not as much as I could, but some. I was just saying, there's a little bit of all of them though.
So I love this meme on 2 levels. One, just because, like, the individual pictures of the cats do such a good job of encapsulating a specific feeling. But my favorite part about it is that it recognizes these things that feel like aberrations are perfectly normal reactions to this situation and are very common. That's why I like this one in particular.
I like ones like this because there's always something for someone.
Yeah.
It's like anybody can look at this and they can pick something out that like it really like connects with them. And I love memes that do this kind of thing sometimes because when you got all this variety, you can pretty much appeal to just about anybody.
So for the next one, we have a conversation between Phoebe and Joey, kind of reminiscing about a moment from the sitcom Friends. We are, and Joey's repeating, we are removing some restrictions. We are removing some restrictions. The pandemic is over.
There is so much truth in this meme. It cut straight to my soul, and it just reminds me that Trump is bad. Trump is so bad. It's a hot take. Donald Trump, bad president, terrible human being. People are stupid. Wear a mask. Be a decent person. When did it become so hard to be a decent person? Just why? Why do people suck so much right now? How hard is it to be a decent human being?
This is a very accurate representation for how the people are acting in general. Because if you paid any attention to my Facebook at all, the thing that I focus the most on is how against I am us opening up the states so quickly and so early. And it's because the moment you do that, not only is our coronavirus cases going to skyrocket, which, spoiler alert, they already are because we've already started opening, but there's also the fact that when restrictions start to get lifted, everybody starts to think that the problem is over. So people are going to stop wearing their mask. They're going to stop taking cautionary measures. They're going to start ignoring the tapes on like the floors of establishments, and they're probably going to stop washing their frickin' hands every day. It's like people are acting like restrictions are lifted, so everything's fine and it's normal again, but it's not. And this is going to get a whole lot worse pretty soon.
So,
Yeah.
my dad owns a small business in Salina, the golf shop, and if the quarantines hadn't been lifted to allow him to reopen, he very well might have gone out of business. So I realize that there are some cost-benefit trade-offs here on both sides, but I definitely do think that like the intensity of concern went from like 100 to like 20 very quickly. And the fact that like you can't just buy masks in stores, like you can't just go to Walmart and be like, oh, where are your masks? Oh yeah, they're over here. And I know part of that is the Trump administration failing to use the Defense Production Act to make enough of them so that they're available. I don't think we're handling reopening adeptly enough. Either certainly at the federal level, but just in general that people like the meme suggests, oh, it's over. We can just, we can move on from this. Well, now you still need to take precautions.
Yeah, and the masks, like, that's so ridiculous because it's like closing your business, that's an extreme measure that has a serious effect on you. But like wearing a mask, like it really doesn't cost much to do that. But I wanted to say there's a really good tweet from Jenny Nicholson that's related to this. I saw the other day where she said, we're going to have to retire the expression "avoid it like the plague" because it turns out humans do not do that. Yep. That is the perfect tweet to describe the idiocy of the current American populace. I mean, even in more progressive parts of the state, you'll still see like maybe 10% of the people wearing masks. And you drive out to Western Kansas and you're wearing a mask, you'll be probably the only person wearing one. Unless you go into a grocery store, you'll still see people wearing masks in grocery stores, but only because they're probably required to. Anywhere else, no, not a chance. I was in Western Kansas earlier this week, and on almost every establishment I went into, I was one of the only people wearing a mask. Even in counties in Kansas that have had over 1,000 cases, still one of only 2 people in the entire establishment wearing a mask. Like, great.
As somebody who lives in Western Kansas, that is a very accurate thing. When the pandemic started hitting, we actually had like I live in a very small community. I think I don't know exactly what our population is right now, but the city is like 2 miles wide in every direction. And we had people on like the news site, like the Facebook news page for our city. They were like making masks and handing them out to people for free. Anybody who wanted some. And so we can do that because we're such a small community. But I feel bad for like the larger communities where it's nearly impossible to get a hold of a mask.
I guess before we move on from the pandemic, Justin, you said that you actually got the coronavirus.
Yeah, I caught it. I started showing symptoms around May 7th or so. And I still had to work for a couple of days into it. I didn't yet know it was coronavirus. I thought it was just like, at first I thought it was a cold. Then I thought it was the flu. And after I had it for a few days, after being at home, forced to be home, my boss had me go get tested. And I went to go get tested, and that was really weird because I had to go to the hospital, and they made me like go all the way around to the back of the building, back behind, and then they'd have like somebody in a hazmat suit come out and, shove the tester up your nose. And then 3 days later, I got the results back, and so it was like when I went back home, I was like, there's no way it's coronavirus. This is just a flu. And at this point, it started hitting me with like fevers and vivid hallucinations. But the hallucinations are not a side effect of COVID. That was a side effect of the fevers for me. Then a really bad cough started hitting me. And it was like one of the worst coughs that I've ever had in my life. And it actually felt like it was coughing so hard, it actually felt like my lung was like coming undone. Because I could feel something in my chest like popping. and like popping off every time I coughed. I don't know what it was, but it was a very weird feeling. 3 days later, I got my test results back, and I had COVID, but by that point, I was convinced I had it anyway. And it was impossible to lay down to sleep. So I for the first few days of having it, I wasn't getting any sleep at all. Every time I tried to do something to counteract it or to feel better, it would only work the first time. So like one time I tried to take a shower, and it felt good. The next day I went to take a shower, and it was like it had the opposite effect. Another time I drank a glass of orange juice to try and boost the immune system, and the next day my body was refusing the orange juice. I couldn't even take it. And every time it was something that just did not work. Ultimately, the only way I could get any sleep was to sleep sitting up in my chair. And that way it didn't bother me because when you lay down and you're flat, it's a lot easier for a respiratory infection to affect you, I guess, basically. Mm-hmm. And another thing was like whenever I would have to cough, it was kind of like it was kind of like it started at the bottom of the lung and would like go up to a certain point. I could cough like once and I was fine. But if I took too deep of a breath of air and I crossed a certain threshold, I would cough like crazy, and every single cough would hurt. It was the single most painful and excruciating thing I've ever dealt with in my life, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. So please, wash your damn hands. Do whatever it takes to not catch coronavirus. It sucks. I got better around the 20th or the 21st was when I got released from the healthcare and I no longer had symptoms. And I had been symptom-free for like 3 days at that point. And it took me 2 weeks of staying home after that to fully recover from how drained it made me. And then I started going back to work a week ago. I just finished my first week back. So.
Wow.
Yeah. It sucks. Worst experience of my life, easily, hands down. No joke.
This message has been brought to you by Port Public Health Planning and the Foundation for a Worse America. Yep. And it's also been brought to you by, you can share that message on Facebook and people would call you a liar. It wouldn't matter. This is my literal, actual experience. No, it's a hoax. You're lying. It was something else. It's just the flu. Don't worry about it. Masks don't help anybody. I hate people.
Okay.
People suck.
The place that I work at, everybody there knew that that I caught corona. Like while I was still sick, they knew I had it because I told my boss, and my boss told everybody, and that's fine. He told everybody at work that I had it, and he had everybody who I worked with that day was forced to stay home for like a week or something. Anyway, all of my coworkers, all of them knew that I had it. And even the ones that may not have known, I told them when I came back. And so all of them definitely knew. And one of them that I've known for years, just a couple days ago, posted a thing on Facebook showing like a huge rally in Washington, D.C., like thousands of people like standing there. And it was one that says like tons of people like rallying and none of them have coronavirus. Don't you think it's a hoax now? And I'm like, dude, you know for a fact the goddamn thing exists. I had it. I work with you.
Yeah, people can be really dumb. The fact that Pence and Trump weren't wearing masks when they were touring medical and swab production facilities where like they were explicitly asked to wear masks and chose not to, and that Trump is attacking Biden for wearing a mask. Just the whole idea that like, there's this entire political subculture that is like, oh yeah, that's a reasonable thing to do. It's like, you know, referring to Trump and his idiocies on these things. It's like, what What? I had a historical understanding that humanity was susceptible to pandemics and epidemics, and I studied the Black Plague and stuff, but I didn't fully appreciate just the level of human stupidity when it comes to reacting to like a threat like a pandemic. That I wasn't prepared for.
Yeah, and when we have straight from the top this basic assault on the very idea of truth, it's like it just makes it so much worse when it's already going to be bad. It's like people are going to get bored of it and stop caring anyway, but when they're like, they don't even start caring in the first place, like that's terrible.
The things that like really like piss me off and just prove the level of arrogance that we have is back in January when it was first coming to light about coronavirus and stuff like that, and Trump on national TV just straight up said that the coronavirus isn't a concern. It's not really anything to worry about. It's just going to blow over. It's nothing. And then it started happening. And then in March he was like, I knew it was a pandemic before anybody. And it's like, shut the fuck up. And then people look at that and they go, yeah, Trump's on top of it. He's got it under control. No, he doesn't. He straight up said it doesn't exist when it started happening instead of reacting to it and preparing just in case it was real.
I'm thinking now, instead of having one giant video that would inevitably end up being like very long, just kind of separating it out. So like just having one that's just about the coronavirus memes. So I guess you've reached the end of part 1. So I will figure out a way, probably in the description, to link to the next part of the 2020 meme review. So please join us there.